deal, guys. Your busyness is hurting your business. So in today's session, I want to talk about this concept I'm calling go deep or go home. Here's a conversation that I hear people have all the time. First guy says, "Hey man, how you doing?" Second guy says, "Oh man, I'm so busy." First guy says, "That's so great." Or even worse, the first guy asks, "How are you doing? Are you busy?" So somehow busyness has become a status symbol of the elite and wealthy. But I'm not sure that we know why, right? When did busyness become the standard for success? Was it during the Great Depression, when any work was good work? Was it in the boom times of the mid-'80s, the era of movies like The Secret of My Success and Wall Street, where greed was good? There's a sign at the Dachau concentration camp, one of the World War II prisoner of war camps, where some of the most heinous war crimes were actually committed. And it says, Arbeit macht frei, which roughly translated in German says, work will set you free. So maybe it was back then. But regardless of where it started, being busy, or at least appearing to be busy, has now somehow become very cool, very in vogue. It's even weirdly become an aspirational bit of American culture. So when we hear busy, we think successful, right? Busy people must be more successful than those who aren't. This isn't how things were supposed to turn out, however, okay? At least according to some really prominent economic theory that's out there. Not having to work was supposed to be the reward for having made it. That's what the economist Thorstein Veblen saw in his 1899 book called The Theory of the Leisure Class. The working classes, who were decidedly not cool, took labor to be their recognized and accepted mode of life, and they had no choice but to take pride in a reputation for efficiency in their work, since that was the only avenue of satisfaction that was available to them. To be at the top was to be a member of the leisure class, for whom abstaining from productive work was part of the deal. Laboring was a mark of inferiority for the upper crusters. And Veblen writes in his book, quote, "To be accounted unworthy of a man in his best estate." Laboring was to be accounted unworthy of a man in his best estate. Now, Veblen was famous for coining a term called conspicuous consumption, okay? And he said that the elite also engaged in a thing called conspicuous leisure. Pretty interesting, right? Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I like being busy an awful lot, and I get some major positive benefits out of being busy, such as, number one, I don't have time to worry about the thoughts that are racing through my head. Okay, we all have those pestering worries that go through our head. When I'm busy, I usually don't even think about them because I'm focusing my mind on something else. Number two, I tend to sleep better. Okay, personally, when I'm busy and my time is occupied all day, I fall asleep easier. For some people, being busy might keep them up, but for me, when I've had a busy day, my mind seems to slow down and let me sleep better. Okay? Number three, I feel motivated to get more work done. When I'm busy, I tend to get more organized, probably out of necessity, but I try to get more work done while I'm motivated to do so. I feel more self-confidence. When I get a lot done in a day, it makes me feel good about myself and helps me feel like I got a lot done, even if that's just a facade. And finally, I get a charge from being busy. When I'm busy, I feel like all of my senses are heightened, and I just have a sense of positive momentum throughout the day. And I want to keep going because I like how it feels. For instance, this weekend, we're in Utah at my granddaughter's other grandparents' place, Chez de Man, and we're just relaxing and chilling out. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of more tired than I normally would be, and I haven't kind of been able to settle into it. But all of those things are the reasons that I really like to be busy. But all too often, the negative side of busy sneaks up on me and kind of smacks me across the face, right? Number one, when I'm too busy, I am not present. While I often enjoy being busy, the collateral damage is not always worth the effort. When I'm too busy, I can miss the little moments that make life more interesting and fun. Like watching my granddaughter up on that deck up there playing with these eggs, and these eggs each have a shape in them, and I told her one was a polygon, and she says, "It's not a polygon." I said, "Well, maybe it's a quadrilateral," and she just looked at me like I was an idiot. But I might miss the little moments if I'm too busy. When I'm too busy, I don't prioritize effectively, okay? Priorities are how we separate things that we need to do versus that we need to do, if you will, versus the ones that we think we should do. Okay, they keep us in line, they keep us on track. But when I'm too busy, everything seems like it needs to be done. I lose track of what matters versus what can wait. Number 3, when I'm too busy, I lose track of my vision. Okay, busyness is my way of getting the little things done. But when I get too focused on the little things, I lose track of my reason, my why. Number 4, when I'm too busy, I eat like shit and I forget to take care of myself. When I'm overly busy, I'll find every excuse to skip a workout or swing by for fast food because, quote unquote, I need the calories to keep going. The 5th negative is that when I'm too busy, I don't take time to think. Thinking deeply is clearly a skill that comes with practice. And when I'm busy, I have to deal with floods of information coming in, and I'm responsible for opening and closing the dam as to what my brain is going to let in or not. If I don't stop and take the time to think about which pieces of information to let through the floodgates, I can become inundated with worthless thought. All right? So some positives, some negatives. So what's a busy-loving, hustle-minded entrepreneur to do when stuck in this quandary? Okay, busyness is so attractive, yet it has serious negative consequences when left unchecked. In fact, I believe that busyness just might be the one thing that is probably killing your success, even if you don't see it. I want to talk a little bit about a concept called deep work. I believe that one of the killer apps of the 2020s and beyond for small business owners and entrepreneurs is a concept called deep work that I found out about through a book by productivity expert and professor Cal Newport. Okay, the book is actually called Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. So in the book, Cal Newport explains there are 2 types of work, and now you might want to write this down. The first is called shallow work, which he defines as non-cognitive logistical, or minor duties performed in a state of distraction. The second is called deep work, which he defines as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. So, most people spend their days doing shallow work, and it's often these low-value tasks that keep us from more important, higher-value work. For example, have you ever been trying to focus on a big project and been distracted by trivial emails that you feel you need to respond to immediately? That's shallow work, okay? Obviously, it's incredibly difficult to remove all shallow work from our life, especially in the entrepreneurial environment. But there's a major reason why we're more attracted to these types of tasks. Okay, as we mentioned before, they're quick and they're easy and they give us a sense of accomplishment. In the long term, however, they are holding us back from our bigger career and life goals. So, what do we do about it? Okay, deep work isn't about working harder or longer, it's about working better. Ideally, deep work is about transforming our work days from a random series of reactive events and chaotic busyness into a well-oiled schedule that allows you to prioritize your highest value tasks. Deep work is more than a set of good habits. It's a skill that needs to be learned. So Newport mentions this in his book. He says, quote, "The ability to perform deep work well is a skill that must be trained. Is a skill that must be trained. It's, quote, like playing the guitar. something you wouldn't expect to be good at unless you actually practiced and trained for a long period of time. It's important to emphasize that because a lot of people think about deep work more like a habit. Okay, it's kind of like flossing their teeth. Okay, important to emphasize that we have to practice it and maintain it over a period of time. So it might sound scary, but here are 4 simple steps you can take to begin a deep work regimen today. And it's just like everything else I talk about. Just do these 4 things. Very simple, not scary. Okay, step number 1, schedule time for deep work. So by reclaiming your focus, that means exercising control over your schedule. So number 1, and I harp on this, and it's this one thing that I say over and over and over again to my clients. If you take nothing more from me, take this concept of scheduling and planning out time to do your work versus letting your work take you away. Schedule that for you. So start out by planning your weeks and blocking out sections of time for deep work. Okay, how you do it's completely up to you. Some people prefer to alternate between sessions of deep work and more menial tasks on a single day. I have a client who likes to block out multiple days in a row in order to really achieve serious concentration. But the most important thing to remember is that you're training yourself to reach a state of deep concentration. So you need to be disciplined in sticking to whatever routine that you create. So number 1, schedule time for deep work. Number 2, create a distraction-free environment. Okay, distractions come in all shapes and sizes, from phones to coworkers to kids, and you're going to want to get rid of all of them. Okay. Right now, I'm distracted by the flies that are buzzing around me. There's a dragonfly over here on the creek, which is actually super cool, and I don't mind being distracted by it for a moment. But if you do your work in an open plan office, okay, I want you to consider booking a private room or working from home if you can. Okay. If the internet's a problem for you, use a program like FreeMind to control how much time you can spend on certain websites, or block them all together. Okay. I also use another one called Freedom. There's a little butterfly logo. Stick to pen and paper, if at all possible, or even go to the local library. Okay, I spend a good amount of time there when I want to do deep work. If you have to go there. Just make sure you have a clear and calm environment that facilitates deep concentration. It also helps to associate a particular location for deep work. For example, if you're going to a different office or you're going to the library to do this, do your deep work there often so that your brain becomes trained that this is where we do deep work. So step number 2, create a distraction-free environment. Step number 3, I want you to embrace rest and relaxation, okay? Deep work isn't just about cutting out distractions so you can focus on big projects. It's also about doing things like getting a good night's rest and turning up to work refreshed and relaxed. When you leave the office, whether that's your home office or your office that you drive to or whatever it might, your Starbucks, avoid the temptation of answering your emails or working late into the night. Okay, it's important that you give your body and your brain time to recuperate. And instead, spend your free time in your evenings focusing on your hobbies and focusing on your friends and family. Okay? Don't bring that computer home if you can avoid it. 4th and finally, make yourself accountable. Okay? Deep work is about more than kind of getting zen when you're in work zone. It's about improving your productivity, especially when it comes to high value goals. Okay, if you don't get anything finished, then there's no point in upending your current work schedule. So what you need to do is create metrics to measure your productivity, and if you can, hold some regular review sessions to keep track of your progress. Deep work is so very important, yet it is very, very hard to achieve. So I think these tips are going to help you. And Cal Newport, in his book, offers many, many more if you're interested. Okay, you can go get the book. It's called Deep Work, again, Cal Newport. What's clear to me is that deep work is a journey, not a destination. I suspect I will be working to implement all of these ideas for the rest of my life. The goal is to get started, get better, and to do the work that matters.